For us to stop?
Yes, there is. In North Carolina, Stop Torture Now has been in existence about 4 years. And it came together actually on the heels of a in-district lobbying day that Amnesty International started, and then Unitarian Universalist Fellowship hosted a spokeswoman for their Stop Torture campaign in the summer of 2005. Shortly after that, some of those of us who were involved in those campaigns started to learn about rendition program, and we're discovering that the New York Times was running articles about rendition with the dateline Smithfield, North Carolina.
Wow.
And not long after that, some activists in St. Louis and Chicago contacted a Catholic worker here and said, look, we think it's time to go out to aero contractors where this airfield is and put our bodies on the line and point to that board of directors and say, you're responsible for this, and also to tell the county commissioners, you have a responsibility here, this needs to be shut down. And so in November of '05, about 40 people marched to the gates there, and about 14 of us went around the gates to deliver a citizen's indictment or a people's indictment directly to aero contractors, while at the same time people were delivering them to the Board of Commissioners, and then the next day these were delivered to the governor and the Attorney General. So that's
kind of how you guys got started.
That's how we got started, and is that fair?
Joan, please, do you have anything else to add to that, or?
Well, I was actually not at that original action because I had already made plans months earlier to go out of town on a family trip.
Sure.
But the very next month, in December, we started a series of monthly vigils out in Johnston County near aero contractors. And over the 4 years, most of the time, each month, we have had a vigil either there or at the governor's mansion, or one Christmas season, holiday season, we had a series of vigils at Crabtree Valley Mall here in Raleigh. So we've had a number of different vigils, dozens of vigils, I would say, over the course of the 4 years of our organization's existence. And we've done a number of other types of actions. We've done a great deal of lobbying at the federal level, at the state level, and at the local level. Everyone from the Johnston County Commissioners, who actually have jurisdiction over the airport in Johnston County, where Aero Contractors is located, but have chosen not to do anything about it, despite our trying to work with them for some time now. We had much better success with some of our federal representatives and also with some of the state legislators who wrote a letter, 22 state legislators wrote a letter to the SBI, to Attorney General Cooper, and several other officials. At that time it was Governor Easley. It was before Governor Perdue came into office. But it basically got passed up the chain of command to the FBI, and they then said that it was up to the Department of Justice to decide whether they could investigate. And of course, this was still under Bush, and the Department of Justice did not respond.
So it basically got passed on from one person to another, one agency to another, and basically dead end.
They didn't, yeah. But we're still trying.
Okay. Now, why get involved with North Carolina Stop Torture? Why are you folks involved with them? I mean,
I can speak a little bit personally about that. I knew when we were invited to go to the gates of Aero Contractors that a young woman who I had watched grow up from age 12, and she was now 17, was going to go there. And the night before, sitting around with the folks from St. Louis, we were reminded of the Nuremberg principles, that if you don't act to stop it, in fact, you're supporting it.
Sure.
and so that's my strong feeling, is that if we let this go on, we're in part responsible. And one of the reasons I stay involved, and there's a bunch of reasons, but in particular, I know that one of the most infamous cases is that of Khalid el-Masri, who was released on a hillside in Albania. And all the credible evidence says that Condoleezza Rice, in fact, intervened personally to get him released. Well, that exposed, or went a long ways to exposing this program. It's my fear, in fact, my belief, that the CIA probably does not let a lot of other people go on hillsides. I think when people disappear into the extraordinary rendition program now, they likely disappear forever. So I feel like having helped expose the program, I have a special responsibility to continue to work to end it. Is that
Joan, do you guys collaborate with other organizations or seek support from other organizations or members in efforts, or what kind of efforts are you leading now?
Well, I personally got involved with this as an outgrowth of my interest in the Bill of Rights Defense Committee and other efforts that were going on from the beginning of the Bush administration, or certainly after 9/11 and after the war in Afghanistan began and people were being picked up at random and either brought to Guantanamo, brought to places like Wagram, which are worse than Guantanamo. And at the same time, the other side of that was that people who were protesting against this, people who were concerned about this, were having their rights denied here at home. That was the era in which people began, when they were trying to protest, to be shunted into little pens away from the public eye, away from being able to be seen by the officials who they were protesting and the policies they were protesting. And it was just a complete denial of our rights, the rights that we've grown up expecting to have in this country, of freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, the freedom basically to let our views be known in the public eye. So, a lot of us got together and we passed resolutions at our local levels around the country. 450 some resolutions nationally were passed to try to protect the Bill of Rights and the rights of everyone, not just citizens, not just certain ethnicities, but every single person in this country. So then in 2005, when all this began to come out about extraordinary rendition, and particularly it being cited right here, 2 counties away from us, how not get involved with that?
Sure.
So
I think I admire the way the Stop Torture, the educational campaign, of really going to the universities, going to different organizations, and encouraging them to be a part of the Stop Torture movement and encouraging them to get the information. I think years ago, remember when Rodney King was beat up by the police and people came on the streets, and all different cities, San Francisco, on the West Coast, East